Canterlot Archives. So, when Odoga submitted this, he specifically asked for casual interactions. And yeah, I can do that, I think. So, the way I see it, there are basically three possible things you can do. The first thing, of course, is try and put high flips on top of your deck. That was clearly the original intention of the card, and you know, it's not that difficult to do. Now, you specifically have to use events, unfortunately, I believe. Yes, specifically events, which is a bit of a bummer because a lot of the more interesting interactions I can think of would be with friends, but fine, we're limited to events, that's fine. Now, there are a few high power events that are worth putting on here. For example, Star Swirl Research, you're going to pay 0 to put that on top of your deck anyway. You might as well pay -1, right? Or the Horror, say, if the opponent isn't running resources to destroy, that's a 6 that you can put on top of your deck while getting rid of a card in your hand that isn't going to help you and turning it into AT instead. That's not a bad deal. So stuff like that, situational cards with high flips, that could be really cool to put on top of your deck. Makeover is another one. If you've already fixed into your second color, now that's a 6 to put on top of your deck for free, except you get an AT out of it. So you're getting value out of these cards that are otherwise not going to help you. The other major way to use the Canterlot Archives is, of course, by putting Chaos cards on top of your deck. Chaos Capital of the World? Yeah, you can just decide, no, our mains are going to go back to the front side. Or, what is it? A Photo Op. Photo Op's a pretty good choice as well. I don't really want you to get that bonus, so even though you're going to win, I'm going to put this Photo Op on top of my deck. That kind of stuff sounds pretty fun to me. And the third way to use this is, of course, to try and start as many face-offs as possible to try and gain an extra AT every single turn. Since well, I guess not every turn. It's every 2 turns, since you have to exhaust to put something on top of the deck, and then you have to exhaust to use it. Or sorry, you have to exhaust to banish something from your hand, and then you have to exhaust in the face-off to put it on top of your deck, which is a bit of a bummer. It would be a lot nicer if you only had to exhaust one of those times, probably the main phase one, not the face-off one. But unfortunately, this is what we've got, and it's really going to hamper the ability you have to use it. However, there are a few cards, not very many, but a few cards that can ready resources, like Rainbow Dash Weather Leader. So maybe some crazy purple-blue deck where you're just trying to start a whole bunch of face-offs and gain extra AT every single turn. I don't know. There are definitely better ways to do it, but sometimes it's a lot of fun to take an absurd number of steps to do very, very little. For example, there was a somewhat famous chess puzzle a long time ago where it was like mate in 8,000 moves or something like that. Not really a productive usage of your time, but a lot of people had fun with it because they're like, oh man, let's see if I can get this in exactly 8,269 or whatever the hell the number was. So yeah, this is a fun card, even if it's, well, like Odoga said, he's kind of given up on it ever being a competitive card because it's almost certainly never going to be, considering that you have to use it twice to turn one card into 1 AT. So I can't really think of many more strategies to use around this. I think I've given him a few reasonable cards to start off with. I can't think of any more events with Chaos off the top of my head. I was really wishing, I had forgotten it was events before I had started this, but I was really wishing that I could put friends on top, because then it would be really fun, because you could uh, do really stupid things like put a Slenderman on top of your deck while you're using a Fluttershy Reliable Racer to just kind of troll the opponent and go, yeah, I'm going to put this card that makes me lose on top of my deck, but we're not going to flip cards. Uh, that kind of thing would be hilarious, and then of course they would like dismiss your Reliable Racer and whoops, you lose, but oh well. That's that's the kind of stuff that I would love to see in casual play. Maybe Odoga, maybe you could convince your opponents to let you put friends on top of your deck, so you could do that. Though clearly, I doubt very many people will. And there are obviously other ways to put Slenderman on top of your deck as well. So, what else can we do with Canterlot Archive specifically? Well, it's a resource that goes to home, and there are some friends that benefit from resources at home, letting you exhaust them to do stuff. A lot of them were in the Canterlot Nights. I believe there was a cycle for every color. But since Canterlot Archives already wants to exhaust so many times, that's not really a good interaction. I mean, it's there if you want it, I guess, but not something I would particularly recommend. So yeah, I think that's about all I can really offer you guys on this.